show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing.
Oh, shit.
Welcome to another episode of Tough Talk Tuesday. As always, I'm your host, Lucas Biggers. Alongside me, we got Rob, James, Sakura. Looks like Malachi's going to be on tonight as well, and possibly Javi. How's it going, guys?
Pretty good.
Coming off a crazy weekend of boxing with Amir Khan taking on Brook. Brook stops him in 6. Who could possibly see that happening, guys?
Well, most people thought that Amir Khan could pull this off. You know, most of the boxing pundits. I didn't decide either way. I just thought, this fight's going to be whatever it is. It's kind of late and inconsequential. So I watched it on a delay. I didn't bother buying it or watching it live or anything like that. I like Brook though. He's always been in great shape. He was cut beautifully for this fight. And he took it to Amir Khan. Amir Khan didn't have much of a response other than the first round. That was it. Big event, though. Really, really, really big event. Shitty undercard, but that fight was pretty good for when it lasted.
It was very built up. But yeah, Rob, I was not surprised. Were you?
Man, of course you're going to come to me. Of course you're going to come.
I got to.
Man, Amir Khan. This is one of those situations where you want to start the sentence with, "Dearly departed, we are gathered here this evening to celebrate the life of Amir Khan," because, man, this was just sad for me. I'm an Amir Khan fan. I'm with James, man. He always usually comes into shape. But there's something about these last 2 fights that he's been in. You kind of have to question, where he's at now. I mean, listen, maybe he needs to go ahead and go to Sky Boxing and maybe do some commentator there. DAZN is in need of some good commentators. ESPN is always on the lookout for some commentators, and they love their boxers. But it's just a sad, sad day for me. It was a sad, sad night for me to get KO'd in 6. And Brook has his issues as well, okay? The eye socket is an issue. It's a problem,
I think it's both sockets.
Both eye sockets to be that. The eyes are a problem, period, for Brook. But Amir Khan didn't look as fast or as sharp as he normally is.
Well,
why do you think that is, though? I mean, I contribute that to age, and he's been around a long time. He's fought a lot of good fighters. He's got a lot of miles on him, and this fight really goes to show it. And then, the inactivity period doesn't help either.
So here's what I say to that, though, James. Look at Donaire. Okay, Donaire's up there in age, but he kind of rededicated himself to the craft, right? And look how good he looks right now. So if you're a guy like Amir, I just think it's not necessarily, of course age is going to catch up with you. But to me, it looks more like he's not in it, man. It just looks like he's not in it.
Well, you know what? I think, like, for example, Brook, his body and his training and everything responded well. For Donaire as well, his training, his nutrition, everything's working in a way. And I think in the case of Amir Khan, it's just not there. His speeds, his chin, his resistance, so there's something missing there, and you just can't really make up for it. He's in the ring on his own. There's no one there to help him. And it's just not there. It's just not there. And time affects people differently, I know for a fact. And so what I can say to Khan is maybe it's time to hang him up. Brook, maybe he's got 1 or 2 left.
I think it's been past time for Amir Khan to hang him up.
I wouldn't argue with that.
It's one of those things like he overexpended himself anyway. He's always had that problem where as soon as he steps up, that step up fight, he loses. His chin's never been there. And arguably one of the most overrated boxers of our current age.
Okay, that's saying a lot.
But it's true,
but
man. He is a big name, big money, with no big win. Not one single huge win, no staple win, right?
To your
but
point,
Amir Khan brings a ton of cash.
Right. And to your point, let me just say this too. And that's why I brought up Donaire, James, because Donaire's rededicating himself to the sport for legacy. Okay. Amir Khan could have did the same thing here.
I think it's a good comparison. It's a good comparison for sure.
Kell Brook is trying to do the same thing here. That's why he was ready. So when faced with this particular opportunity in this situation, and let's face it, Amir Khan wanted Mayweather back in the day in his prime. He wanted, possibly a fight with Canelo back in the day. He wanted to build on his legacy. And for us to be able to say that Amir Khan is a Hall of Fame caliber fighter or have any type of legacy like that, he just ruined it. He ruined his shot at that.
Here's the problem, okay? A lot of people get it confused, because I do too. I say a lot of people don't deserve to get into the Hall of Fame, but it's the Hall of Fame. It's not Hall of Records. It's not Hall of the Best. It's not Hall of the Greatest. This is the Hall of the Fame. And Amir Khan is certainly a famous fighter. Like I just said, he's very overrated. He has this huge name, this huge following that I'll never quite understand, and it's not deserved. But that does not mean he is not famous enough to warrant Hall of the Fame. We got Rocky in the Hall of Fame, we got actors, we got referees, we got other media personality. To say Amir Khan isn't in the Hall of Fame, I don't know. Do I think he should go into the Hall of Fame? Hell no, but I'm not, one of those writers, unfortunately.
Shakura, you quiet down there?
Yeah, I kind of got here late. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
I'm catching the tail end. I know that we did have the Amir Khan versus Brooks fight this weekend. But what was the question?
We're just breaking it down.
Yeah, we went a little off topic, a little rogue, but.
Okay. Well, I can do the same real easy. So let me get off subject too. I really like Amir Khan as a person and some of the things that he does for charity, etc. And
yeah,
he does have a win over Maidana of all people and Peterson, I believe. So it's like how I don't know how you get
Peterson
from there. I think that his career kind of derailed or got sidetracked when he kept waiting to get that Mayweather fight that never happened. And
right.
I kind of waited too long with his career, got stale. And you know how the game works, the more stale you are and the more luxury you get, the less hungry you are. And, you get sidetracked on other things in life, like family and everything. And I think that he's a cautionary tale to younger boxers as to what can happen when you wait too long for that elusive, amazing money fight.
So he's a victim of the silk pajama syndrome.
It sounds like you're agreeing with Rob, is that he just could not, get back into the sport like some other people have.
Yeah, and then it's like I said, it's that level of luxury. You're not hungry as you are when you first started out, and people was depending on you to like raise your whole family up and get them out of poverty. You past that point as Amir Khan, already was never like poor as my understanding. Like he didn't come from he came from a nice established family, and so they were able to brand him properly. They were able to promote him well early, and it paid off. And nobody can fault him for that. I think he is worthy of being famous, but the thing of it is that it's time for him to transition, because I don't ever want to see a boxer start looking that bad against someone that 5 years prior to that they would not have looked that way against. Like as soon as I start seeing that real disparaging skill level between the two boxers, and just taking a brutal like beating, you kind of like, I don't ever want to see that. So it's kind of like, I mean, I don't think other fans will be thirsty for that either. Like, you know, if you have respect for the boxers and what they've given to the sport, you don't want to see them on a decline to the point where, you know, it's just not even fun to watch anymore, you know.
And we've seen that in the recent past too.
Yeah. And at first, when we first started watching the Brooks fight, we're like, damn, Brooks is taking it to him. Brooks ain't scared today. Oh, Brooks is making him bad. Ooh, he got caught. He's rocked. But after that happened like the 5th time in the fight, you're like, damn, this is really embarrassing. Like, I wish they would just stop this at this point. Like, most fans, they start getting turned off and they don't want to see it anymore. Like, they like, damn, this is bad. You know? Yeah, and that's how I felt in that fight. So, and when you get to that point, it's like, I don't want to see boxers that used to be a certain way and flashier and faster, you know, looking like that in a fight. And that's another thing, is that when you are hot and you rely on speed and you rely on skills that they don't last as long when you get older, you're gonna look bad in fights when you get older, because, you know, you don't have that type of speed anymore. So, I mean, Amir Khan used to have speed and he had a little power with punch if he caught you. So
he had great speed. He had really good hand speed.
Yeah, so like once you get older, that's something that's gonna leave. It's not like power where it's the last thing to go or never go. Mm-hmm. You know, yeah. It's a totally different skill set. I know everybody always brings up Roy Jones when it comes to that, you know, as an example of not being able to use those skills that got you, you know, so much further than most boxers could dream of. You know, so I feel like that's what's going on with Amir Khan, and I don't want to see him like that no more. And kudos to Brooks, but it's like, everything you wanted to prove, you made the point that you were the better boxer, but still, and yet, we all know that in the back of our minds as boxing fans, we're like, damn, I wonder what that fight would have looked like 5 years before that, or 6 years before that. And that's an answer that we'll never get. So it's like, what are you fighting for at this point? Brooks proved everything he needs to. There shouldn't be a rematch. And, you know, he should be able to go out on top. I would go out on top.
Well, you're right. It should have been 5 years ago. That could have been a good fight 5 years ago. We could have had a different outcome. I think we all agree on that.
Yeah.
And he missed it. Amir Khan missed it by trying to chase, quote unquote, the money fights. But to put a whole dapper on the Amir Khan legacy, what I'm trying to say, the man's alleged net worth is $40 million. Okay. That ain't chump change. Okay. Right. But that also isn't a hungry fighter. He's pretty much capped out at what he could make in the sport of boxing, and it shows in his performance. So he definitely is not a hungry fighter, you know, coming in to it. And guys like Amir Khan, to me, need to go ahead and fizzle it out. You got your little net worth there. Go ahead and fizzle it out, become a commentator, leave the sport alone.
And Amir Khan, I mean, I don't know if he would translate well to American TV, but I could definitely see him on like Sky Sports, you know, something like that. His accent's pretty thick. It might turn off some U.S. viewers. But enough about Amir Khan. Let's talk about the guy that I actually want to talk, Kell Brook.
Right, the guy who won the fight.
I'm hearing a lot of different things from fans on Twitter. It's kind of all over the board. Some are saying, you know, he won, but he still probably should hang it up. You know, he's basically got no eyes and, you know, a shrinking vision field. But I want to go ahead and talk about the tweets that are saying this Kell Brook could beat Errol Spence or Terrence Crawford. Guys, I'm assuming by James's face that you all kind of agree. Statements like that might be a bit of a stretch. I think it's more he was just looking good because of his opposition, not necessarily ready for those kind of fights. But
no. I fully endorse that bullshit. Yeah, bring him back. Let him have Crawford one more time and see how it goes. Didn't go well the first time. He's got his place in boxing for the next few years. Maybe, you know, there's a lot of opponents that could potentially fight him who are kind of at that same level, that caliber, the high mileage club, if you will. You know, there's a lot of names, and I won't drop any names, but like Robert Guerrero and maybe Bam Bam Rios, and
maybe
there's a few, you know, exactly, and they'll undercard fill in and make some bucks. More power to you. Got no problem with that. That's where it's at. That's where it's at. It's you know, you were talking about fighting too long, Sakura, staying in the game too long. Like you mentioned, Roy Jones. That one hurt. That really hurt. But it's where he's at. It's all right. It's not a problem.
Yeah. I mean, it may be so, but at the same time, I mean, Brooks had an amazing performance against Amir Khan because Amir Khan wasn't up to the competitive level that Brooks was.
Right. So
that they're trying to say that based on how he performed against Amir Khan, he could do that against a Spence or someone. And he's like, nah, this is levels to this stuff, and he's gonna look good against an Amir Khan at this point. That doesn't mean he's gonna look good against a Spence. Are you crazy? You know?
Yeah, but there's a lot of fighters in between. There's a lot of fighters in between. A lot of welterweights that fit that bill.
Yeah, or he could just go out on top.
But I assume after a win like that against a big fan base, he's at least going to continue because he's going to get another shot. What would you all like to see for Kell Brook going forward? Title shot?
I'll say since don't nobody want to say it, because I know very specifically what I want to see happen with Kell Brook. Okay. Excuse me. Kell Brook needs to do exactly what Lucas said and go ahead and start with some of the guys towards the up and comers or the lower part of the totem pole and work his way back in the mix, because one more fight like the one he had with Crawford will put him in the retirement category. So you have to be very careful with yourself right now. He needs to be more active to get himself out there. And if he's more active, then a big fight for him right now that is debatable that he could possibly win would be a guy like Boots Ennis. Because then you're adding a name to a record for Boots. But it's a fight that, under the right circumstance, Kell Brook could try to win it.
I don't know, man. If I'm Kell Brook, I'm staying far away from Boots Ennis right now.
Yeah, that seems a little. That's a bit of a stretch.
It seems like too big of a risk right now.
I see your point.
If Boots was worth more money, I would agree with you, Rob. But yeah, that's
you put
too
Boots
much.
way on the totem pole, but now you don't want to give the man no credit.
Rob, you got a good point, but I don't think that Boots Ennis is the good fare for that argument.
Right.
There's other fighters out there, and I really don't want to mention any names, man, because, you know, it's just the way it is. But he'll have his opponents. He's got a few fights left in him, and he's always in great shape.
Who else is he going to fight?
Not a young Thundercat. Somebody else with his name, a similar resume, and also in the same kind of spot, the same area of age. You know, try to keep it a relative name, right? Enough to, if he knocks him out or does it again like he did Amir Khan, that it's going to make a big enough impression to guarantee a big payday to then go ahead and cash out, and, you know, the sun sets behind him after that.
Thank you.
Those names that are there, like the names that James have mentioned, no one is watching anymore. We're not watching Robert Guerrero. We're not watching Devin Alexander.
It's not a main event.
We're not even watching them, James.
Yeah, but they're not main events. I have a better name for this kind of position on an undercard. It's called landfill. Sorry, I don't mean to be a dick about this, but I mean, it's just undercard fodder, and that's just the way it cycles into the game. Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to be, cold-hearted about this. That's where he is. He's got some good fights left in him. It's just not the best of the best. He's not going to fight top
what's the point in taking these chances with these extra little 2 or 3 fights, and they're not like big money fights? What are you taking these chances for when you've made it through your entire career? You know, with all your mental faculties, you can go out on top, and you basically have saved your eye from any further damage. What is in it? Like, to do some two or 3 fights, stay busy. We would call them stay busy fights with, you know, some boxers that's like, you know, considered not A, but not B, like in between. It's like, what would be the benefit in that?
Manolo Gonzalez recommends Danny Garcia.
There you go.
That's a name.
There you go.
And that's a very winnable fight for Kell Brook.
Right.
Yeah. And that's would you pay for it?
Pay? No, but I mean, you know, DAZN.
But then how's that fight gonna happen? Danny Garcia want to get paid bread, top bread.
He ain't top bread. I think he knows he ain't top bread.
But what I'm trying to tell you is what they gonna want to get paid. I ain't saying what they really worth. I'm saying that's what they want to get paid. So how's that fight gonna happen when that's not a fight that people would pay for?
ESPN Plus, Showtime Boxing. I mean, it still makes money. Just because it's not pay-per-view does not mean that it's not going to make money.
Well, what are they fighting at? 154?
I mean, if you're doing that's you might go with Keith Thurman then.
Yeah, that's another question. Like, what division are we talking about here?
There's a question. This fight was not at 47, was it?
I think it was at 154. I'm not sure.
I think it was a catchweight. You know, I should have been paying better attention, but I think it was.
Me too.
I think we didn't really
I thought
care.
It was a catchweight.
It's a catchweight. It looks like it was basically 147, 149, I believe.
Well, I guess Danny Garcia
would
be perfect then, because he kind of does want to move up. He don't want to be at 147 anymore, apparently. So maybe that would be a matchup, but it's like not a fight that people are going to want to pay for. So I don't see how that fight happens.
He's not going to be a pay-per-view liner in any way, shape, or form. So that we can just drop that out.
Who is it? Who's not going to? Brook
Kell
or?
Brook. He is not pay-per-view. I mean, what was this? ESPN Plus? And this is pretty... I mean, Amir Khan's, like I said, a big name. So
but they made a lot of money for British, you know, for their British
I'm sure
fans.
they did.
For Sky Sports?
I don't think it was pay-per-view
Sky
either,
Sports?
Though.
No.
Yeah. But they still made more money than that Garcia fight would make, I'm saying.
Oh, for sure.
They're going
that was
to
big.
because
that was a big fight.
Because Amir Khan is the biggest, the biggest selling boxer in British sports British boxing history. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, when you fight Amir Khan, that's what you get. But I agree. I like Keith Thurman. I like Danny Garcia. In about as long as he can get his money up for that. But if he even loses that fight, he's got to be in retirement home. So
why? Like, look, listen. You saying that if he loses that fight, he's gonna retire. He done lost some fights, and he's still fighting. So why would that make him want to go retire? Because now he lost to a Bud Crawford already.
He lost to Spence, and he lost to Crawford.
But that's what I'm saying. So why would make him retire if he lost to Danny Garcia or
There's no way up.
He gonna still keep fighting though, because I mean, if he's gonna fight those fights, I mean, there's no incentive for him to just stop fighting, even if he loses at this point. I'm saying he's still making bread.
His net worth is $3 million. He ain't making no money.
Well, let's see what his net worth will be after he gets the coins from the fight he just had. So maybe it'll increase a little bit. Damn, you going into these people's net worth like this? Dang on, Robin.
Did you say $3 million for Kell Brook?
Wait.
Did you say
that's his alleged net worth? Yes.
3 or 30?
3.
No, you said 3. You said 300 a minute ago.
$3 million is his alleged net worth.
Not very good. Not for the fights that he's had. Or for his record. I'm no financial advisor. That sounds pretty low.
Oh, okay, take it or leave it, guys. If they make Kell Brook Ugas, would you watch it?
Yes.
I mean, it's a good fight. Right?
Will they ever make it? No.
On paper, I don't think it'll play out in Kell Brook's favor by any means, but let's see.
Manolo, you got a comment from Sherman Henson, trainer. He says, "Don't you get tired walking back and forth in the ring?" Like
that was earlier, Sakura.
That was our waiting sign where that we got Crawford just pacing.
Oh, I thought he was talking about Kell Brook and Amir Khan pacing back and forth, because there was a lot of that going on in that fight, by the way. Like, Brook was kind of walking down Amir without like really touching him some too. Like, I think he could have been like a little bit more busier against Khan, but it was already so embarrassing.
Yeah.
I think he didn't go in as hard as he could have on Amir Khan, is what I'm saying.
Let's see, Manolo says Amir Khan didn't have no confidence and he looked pretty nervous in that fight. So I think he should retire. Bond says, let the brother Rob speak.
What? Rob got a fan? Well, what do they have to think about these raps on the Amir Khan and how they delayed the fight a little bit so that they could get the rap situated on Amir Khan? Do you think they took him up? Was that what made him nervous coming out?
Let me give my opinion on that, though, because some people are saying he cheated, he's a cheater now, and this and that. I don't think that is a reflection of Amir Khan throughout his career, but I honestly think that goes to show you his mentality going into this fight. He knew he wasn't going to win. He knew he wasn't going to win.
Well, he thought his best shot would be to give himself more power, basically, by skimming those raps. And Brooks did allude after the fight that he thought that that's something that that Amir Khan had been doing since the Olympics.
No. That's what you're not going to do. You're not going to come here.
Telling you what he said. I said Brooks alluded to that in his post-fight interview.
I'm not talking about you, Secure. I'm talking about Kell Brook. Like I said, he's over there trying to allude to the fact that Amir Khan is a cheater. The man has had several fights, successful fights. His power has always been in his speed. It's never been one punch power. It's never been no crazy stuff like that.
Hold on now. If you get caught with bad raps, you've been doing that shit before. You just now got caught. You said, now if we're talking about Antonio Margarito, right, you're going to say something completely different.
Because Margarito, obviously, we saw that first fight with Cotto. We saw what happened. He was getting outclassed.
That's how Margarito fights, though. That's also his style. So, no, you don't have proof that he used in the first fight the bad raps, but you have to assume so. Why? Because of his character. He showed his character.
America says you're innocent till proven guilty, okay?
Well, guess what? This fight took place in the UK, okay?
I mean, we are getting really off subject. I don't know why he's defending this situation. I mean, he had the foresight to know, if you're Brooks, you had the foresight to know that you wanted his hand wraps checked again right before the fight. He had the foresight to know that was going to be the case. So that tells me that there is some history there of some kind of shenanigans going on. Because otherwise, how would he know to tell them to check it at the very last minute of the fight? He just would have went along with the regular glove wraps and the regular check off of the boxing commission when they put their gloves on. But he waited till the very last minute and was like, okay, now I want to contest his wraps, because this is when the shenanigans happens. It's after you guys already checked him. That's what I read into that. And as far as him saying that he felt that was something that had been going on with him since the Olympics, I don't know if that's true or not. But now in my mind, as a boxing fan. That's the problem. It's like now that shit is in the back of my head, like it's a possibility that he is correct, right? So it's done ruined my whole perception on a lot
James,
of people.
he would have been caught by now, right, James? He would have been caught before.
That's not true though, because just saw that on a Fox card. We just saw that last year on that Maestro versus Fox card. Yes, I still remember the names because it was the WBA championship, one of those belts, and they found that the guy had his rap skimmed. That was last year, 2021. So I don't know why you think that could not be the possibility or the case when we're talking about 6-7 years ago.
We'll never know. That's the bottom line. We're never gonna
exactly know. But now it's in your head that it's a possibility, correct?
Right, but for me, they all cheat. Unless you're Nonito Donaire, you're all suspect to me. So
that's true. You're right on that. But I'm just saying, Brooks is the one that did that to us as fans.
Very true. Bond says, is Kell Brook going to fight Eubanks next? I seen they had some Twitter beef going on, and I think that's a very makeable fight as well. Yeah, I can see that doing well.
And it's a winnable situation for Kell. Very winnable.
I'd say that's a good chance for Kell Brook to make an even bigger name, and then, his cash-out fight after that. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think that's a really dangerous fight for him.
It is. It's dangerous.
He's looking at some serious punching power there. I would probably step that one down a few clicks before you get to something that serious. But if he's willing to do it, I'm going to watch and I'm going to cheer for him. And I hope he wins that fight. But you know what? That's not the outing that I was hoping he would take. But I'll watch. Watch.
What are you hoping he's going to take?
Oh, we were talking earlier about, like Guerrero and just all, those welterweights that have maybe
Ortiz.
Man, it's kind of a slippery slope for me here on the West Coast.
I got you. Say
but,
no
you
more.
know, but no, the idea is that, there's a lot of good opponents for him. Let me put it that way. I'll be safe and just say there's some good opponents for him out there. I don't think that the top dogs in the division, in the 147 division, is the way to go.
Yeah. I think he has.
Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia kind of. I'm thinking that would be pretty good.
Garcia comes in the best shape of his life. On this particular fight, like I can't lose to Brooks now. I just draw the line. I'm not finna lose to Brooks.
Yeah, but I don't think Kell Brook's gonna fall for the no look left hook like Amir Khan did either. So
that's true. I mean, well, I have to just switch up just a little bit because I got in an argument with somebody today, guys. They want me to be excited for Cruz Gamboa.
I'm excited for Isaac Cruz to get that shot. That's a name, under his belt. But the fight, it does not make me excited. Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
How many times are we going to see Gamboa be recycled with this lightweight division, guys? That's my question to you. I'm not talking about Cruz. I'm not talking about any other lightweights, but I want to know how many times do they expect us to get excited for a Gamboa fight? With these younger prospect lightweights.
Yeah.
So you have to give Gamboa credit because he's getting these fights. And he's getting these fights because he is an active competitor. Because he loses, you guys say you don't want to see him in there.
I mean, because it's not competitive. When's the last one of these fights you saw where it was competitive like you just mentioned that as a description, but they're not competitive?
He was the first fighter to take Tank to deep waters. He did take Tank to deep waters, and he was the first one to do it. Not only that, but you have to keep in mind that Isaac Cruz is coming off of a loss. He has to keep those names up. He has to keep those names coming. Gamboa, like I said, is an active competitor. whether you like him or not, because he loses in these big fights.
Wait a minute. Hold on just a second. I never said I didn't like Gamboa. I'm quite happy with him being able to get these later year checks since he was avoided in the beginning of his career. However, that was not my question. My question to you is, how many times do they expect us to get excited about a Gamboa against any of these newer, fresher, potentially amazing lightweights that's coming up? And as far as
you're talking Gamboa Pitbull Cruz?
Yeah.
Yes, that is like supposed to be on the undercard of Spence. I
think that plays well into Cruz's career,
for sure.
Into his trajectory. Not so much Gamboa, because Gamboa is kind of at that high mileage area where like Cal Brook is.
I just don't see how much credit is Cruz going to get for fighting someone that's already been beat by all the other lightweights in that division at this point. Well, I don't see it as a huge benefit, because you're going to have Gamboa on your record, yes, but if you look deeper into that record, you're going to see that it's not like he's a competitive Gamboa and a threat like he was with, say, someone like a Bud Crawford when they fought at 140.
Yeah, but that's just boxing, and that's the way it works. I mean, not every name on your resume is a big step up.
Yeah,
and it seems to me it's like a keep busy for Cruz.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
It's
with
a
Rob
comeback.
too.
You got to call it a comeback fight, though.
I think what Rob
come
was
back
trying
for a
to
Gamboa?
say is like somebody who's recently fought.
Come back for Cruz. Say it again. Lucas?
It's a comeback for Cruz. Yeah, go ahead, Lucas.
But kind of what Rob was trying to say, I think, is somebody who's still in the mix, because it's somebody who Tank has fought recently. So somebody that's still been fighting and been active, therefore he can compare. So be like, I took out Gamboa quicker than what Tank took out Gamboa, to make a point to then say, I measured up better than you, let's have this rematch. Because right now, Tank's like, that was a close fight. Tank don't want no part of it, and he's going to stay far away.
Yeah, he's moving on.
Yeah.
That's all good. That's perfect.
But y'all are saying that fight with Tank was like it was so competitive, but he was never in any danger of not winning that fight. He was winning, like Tank was winning all the rounds. So that's not considered. We talking
Gamboa? We talking Cruz?
Yeah, Gamboa. I'm like, that's not really like a competitive fight to me when somebody is like dominating all the rounds, even though they go to a later round. That does still not make it a competitive fight to me.
That's.
Back then, Tank was knocking him out. Yeah, back then Tank had the knockout streak too.
Yeah,
and he was knocking him out early. So he did test Tank, because he took Tank in the deeper waters. That's what we wanted to see. A lot of people criticized Tank after that fight because he wasn't able to knock out Gamboa earlier.
Who was basically on one leg at that point.
I feel like it had more value. I feel like a Gamboa was more value to a Tank then he's going to be of value to Cruz now. Because we've got Haney in there that fought him. We have, who else was it? It's like one more person.
Well, I don't think Cruz's door is getting beat down by fight offers either. He's got to take what he can get. And now it's a name.
JoJo Diaz. You still got JoJo Diaz in that division. You got Fortuna. Linares just lost the other night, but, he actually gave Haney a great fight. I mean, that was a more competitive fight, I believe.
Okay, but Tank's been looking like a monster, and Isaac's been the only one to be able to stay in there, and not get demolished. So,
I mean, but is that because he has a great chin, or is that because he was like doing so much more skillful wise than Tank?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, not necessarily skill wise, but he was just able to muster it out. What, Rob?
Let me throw something else at you, though, Shakura, is the problem there also is in the division. The other fighters that have recently fought also have a loss. You're talking Barrios just lost. You're talking Linares
like 40
just lost. These guys within that division or possible better matchups that have a name for him have all lost. So you throw in Gamboa because he hasn't fought in a while. He would be the next name up.
All right. Well,
I think
feel
Gambo
like
is
that
more
name
of
has
a.
been used too much in the lightweight division at this point, and it's not offering the same value that it did when Tank fought him. That's my personal opinion.
Gambo is kind of a. I think Gambo is kind of a gimme for Cruz, because he's definitely going to work his way back into the mix. It's a good fight for Cruz. It's a tough fight. It's a solid fight. Gambo is good. He's solid. He's going to bring it. It's going to be a good fight. Stylistically, it's kind of awkward, I think. Cruz, comes forward. Gamboa is Cuban. So it's a little different, but it could be an interesting fight.
Yeah, I will say that I guess that's what we're going to get on the undercard of Spence versus Ugas.
Bond says Gamboa is OG gatekeeper.
I wonder what else we're going to get on that undercard. You guys have any information
I don't know,
on that?
but if that's it, like that's the pay-per-view.
There's got to be more. There's got to be a good 3 or 4 fights.
Does it have to be more?
Let's.
Well, no, I mean, there's got to be 3 or 4 fights on the undercard for the
pay-per-view. But is it name worthy for a pay-per-view fight? Remember, we're starting to get into that era where you get the main event and you kind of like the rest of the card isn't as full as you liked it to be.
Right, but sometimes those undercard fights are better than the main event.
That's true, but not in this case. I doubt it in this case, with a Spence Ugas, I doubt it.
Sure. Right. No, but like, for example, the Munguia fight this weekend had a really good fight on the undercard. It was a kid named Diego Torres against Jonathan Escobedo at 140.
Was that the upset decision? That was like the bad decision, or was that the...
No, it was a good decision. But just a all-around great fight.
Okay.
This kid Diego Torres at 140 was 13-0, 13 knockouts.
I had kind of cheated on that night, James, and I was like waiting for Monday fight, but I was on the bare knuckles fighting champions.
Right.
I was looking at the bare knuckles women championship there, and I just got kind of distracted, so I missed part of the undercard. With Mundial, but I will go back and watch that fight now that you said it.
Yeah, Torres Escobedo, and I won't ruin it for you, but you could lose the first 3 or 4 or 5 rounds and still put up a super good fight. And this kid earned the one who lost. Hopefully, I didn't give it away, but the one who lost deserves a nice check in his next fight. He deserves a really nice, gimme, because
he'll get it. Now this is a good question.
Yeah, but that whole Munguia thing was just weird. But we'll get to that, I'm sure.
Lucas, what we got next?
Yeah, I was gonna move on to the Fury-Whyte announcement set for April 23rd.
Did White sign on the dotted line?
Yes, I believe that was actually done today.
Okay, great.
So it is.
So that's a done deal.
It's done deal at Wembley.
Oh, awesome! I thought they were going to be in Saudi Arabia.
So yeah, it's going to be a big fight. But guys, are we worried at all about White coming in and upsetting and taking Fury's belt?
I'm just happy that he gets his shot finally, and we can get this done and over with.
He earned it, but it doesn't mean that we want to see the fight. But you gotta give the man. I mean,
if he earned the chance, I'm like this with any boxer. If they really earned that chance, I do want to see the fight.
Yeah, I mean, Hearn dangled that carrot.
Because you never know what you're gonna get. Yeah, the point is that you're not gonna know exactly what you're gonna get because it was such a struggle to get that opportunity. So we don't really know how Dillian Whyte is gonna come in there, but. I mean, Fury, we know what we're going to get with Fury. He's like the staple fighter at this point who's giving us that same look each time he's fighting now. So, I mean, I feel like that this might be more of a competitive fight than we think because, it's got to be Dillian Whyte's strategy to try to set up, some kind of big power shot because that's, to me, his only way of trying to win is to use his power to that's the only way he's gonna get a decision, basically, is if he KO'd Fury. So that has to be in the makeup of his strategy. For Wilder, for Fury, all he has to do is stick to his skills and rely on those things that won him the Wilder fight. Literally, they both would be the same blueprint to me, except, well, I guess he's gonna have to fill out how much power Dillian Whyte really has. But I know he's one of the few people that was able to actually knock down and hurt AJ pretty badly, besides Klitschko. So and and Ruiz. But I'm just saying, like, he does have some power there. We know that. So I just think that we gotta see what's going on with that fight, and it might be more exciting than we think it is. And good for them. That's gonna be another big British fight. It's gonna be UKer against UKer, the Gypsy King versus the blue collars. So I think it's gonna make for a big fight over there.
That's a huge fight. It's big. It's bigger than Con Brook.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see this. But you know what it does is tells me that then Usyk Joshua is a done deal, is what this fight tells me, because I guess there was some talk about some step aside money and blah blah blah. Okay, so it's cast in stone. So we're going to see Usyk Joshua one more time. I think you all know that. And with this, it's going to be a good year for the heavyweights. And it's not in the United States. It's awesome. It's a good thing.
Yeah, I ain't mad at it. And look, the thing with Usyk and AJ is, like, Fury was just put a stop to that shit. He's like, I'm not paying your greedy ass this kind of money. Like, now you done tried to add on another $5 million. AJ's camp was trying to make the step aside money like another $5 million. He's like, nah, I'll just go ahead and fight Dillian Whyte. And kudos to Fury for putting a stop to that and going ahead and just being like, I'll just take the Wilder fight. Not the Wilder fight, I'm sorry. I'll just take the Whyte fight. Forget it.
Well, what I heard was that the purse split was like 80-20 for Fury-Whyte.
Yeah.
Something like that. I'm not sure. Maybe 75-25 or something. To me, that really sucks. You think it? I think it sucks.
It's not.
I think it's not, something of that magnitude.
It sucks for White.
But
yeah, that's what he's saying. That it's not an equal card. Like, it's not a good compensation for the underdog.
80-20 sucks or something that big. It really does. It could be like
Fury is the main driver of all that.
Right, of course he is, but I think 65-35 is good.
Yeah,
that's a big difference too. It really is.
About 8 tight. Look. The man went through about 10 fights to get here. Give the man money.
I'm not the dealer. I'm just saying I can imagine even the 20% is probably going to be more than anything he's fought for thus far. So,
but that comparison is I don't dig the comparison, because you look at all the marbles that are up for grabs in this. 80-20 to me just doesn't make sense.
You're right. There is a lot of belts on the line,
There should be a little bit more equality here. I don't dig it. But you know what? I'll still watch. I'll contribute.
Not just that, it's like the level of what Wilder. I keep saying that. It's the level of what Whyte has been through to get this fight that makes it insulting. It's like, okay, we done already made you jump through these hoops, do this, sue us, do this and that. And now, on top of it, okay, you want to fight? Now we're going to pay you shit compared to what we would have paid another opponent.
See, when I hear shit like this is where I say I want Whyte to whoop his ass. Whoop him good, knock his ass out.
Also, though, like, we're forgetting...
Drag Fury out the ring.
He lost to Povetkin. Yes, he redeemed himself and he came back and he beat him, but... he got
knocked out. That was a good uppercut. Like, we all remember it.
But
it was amazing.
Yeah,
that could have happened to any boxer, as far as I'm concerned. That type of punch.
Povetkin was way off that night. Way off. His timing was so bad.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, I'm hoping that Whyte wins this fight simply because, and then the tables are turned, and it's like, fuck you. It's it's 80-20, but I get 80 this time. You get 20, and how does it feel, mother?
But I don't think that it's Fury's fault that he got.
No,
the team,
not at all. That's what he's earned. He's earned it. You mentioned
that's
that.
like the Frank Warrens and everybody on his team making sure that the bulk of it is theirs to play with. I mean,
but you mentioned it earlier, and Fury's been at it all his life, so give him his due.
Yeah, that's true.
Give him his due.
All right. We got Bond saying, where does Adrian Bronner fit into all this? You can't talk about boxing without mentioning Adrian Bronner.
Yes, we
I
can.
assume he was meaning at the 147 when we were talking more of the Amir Khan.
Oh, like he could fight Kell Brook.
Or one of those. But Adrian Bronner, I don't even know like if he's going to be fighting in the near future. There's been no news of Bronner coming back whatsoever.
Yeah,
I thought Adrian Bronner was behind bars.
No, but he's been talking about going to the Conor.
I thought he was arrested for something, and
I haven't heard anything about that. But I heard that Conor Ben is interested in fighting AB, and AB has also, made comments saying that he would be, open to those discussions.
Yeah, I see a total mismatch there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm like, why Conor pick him out of all fighters? But then I found out that Broner was the one that called him out at first. So he's like, yeah, bring on in.
Some bad blood there.
I think for Bronner, Kell Brook's a better look for him. I think that's more evenly matched currently. I don't know if he wants to be going on and taking no Conor Ben.
Dang, but I think Brook got way more skill than a Broner does, to be honest.
Yeah. I'd agree with that too. For at least at that weight, I would say Kell Brook should win that fight. But that's the kind of fight we were just talking about for Kell Brook. Bond continued. He said, "Don't be surprised if Usyk beats Fury." We've talked about that a couple of times, and I think there's a couple of us that wouldn't be surprised, but I think there's some other panelists that would be a little shocked if we get to see that fight. I mean, I hope that we do.
Yeah, that's true. That's a big if right now.
That's a big one.
That's a big if right now. But if Fury wants to go out on top and have all the titles and be unified, then he will go after Usyk, possibly as his last fight. And if he does, that's like a mega fight. Like if we think the other two fights we mentioned were like huge fights over there, that would be massive. Like that right there with all the titles on the line, and Usyk being such a wild card figure right now in that division, it's gonna be hot. Everybody gonna want to see that fight.
All right, I think we need to circle back and talk Jimmy Mungai. Guys, I can't say it. I've tried.
Moon like the planet. I think it's a planet. Gia. Mungia.
He's like,
if I can say it, you can say it.
Jamie Mungia. All right.
JM.
All right. Circling back to that, guys, what'd you think about the knockout win? I think all of us were kind of expecting it. I mean, it really wasn't much of a surprise. It's not a big step-up fight for Jamie, but
sorry, Rob. He had to keep busy. He didn't have a lot of competition.
Right.
He apparently had some problem making weight. There's some issues there, and his man. I gotta tell you, I have never seen a promoter go up to a old scale with the bar that goes across it and finagle with the fucking scale and then say, yeah, he made weight. Did you see this shit?
It's TJ, damn it. It's Tijuana. What you want?
Thank you. Shit. I can't believe this. I've never seen anyone put their hand on a scale like that. He happens to be a promoter.
I mean, he obviously said that, that the video was kind of misleading, that he was laying down, relaxing, and they took it as he was exhausted, from trying to lose weight. I want to believe him. And also, people are saying like, well, what's the big deal? That's what boxers do. They lose weight. I mean, and some of them have to do extreme measures to make that weight. But the thing is, culturally, it's like, when are we gonna be like, no, stop draining these boxers so that they can be the biggest bully on the block instead of letting them fight at their own true skill level. But Munguia, even if he does move up in weight, he's still facing a lot of competition that was just at middleweight. I mean, if he's been the mandatory challenger for Boo Boo Andrade for 2 years already, if he moves up and they put Boo Boo Andrade right back into that same position as number 1 contender, then Munguia, he would be number 2. So they would be right back in the same position as they were at middleweight when they knew he wasn't ready to fight Andrade. So I don't know if the weight issue is something that's going to be really bad on him physically. It is time for him to move up. However, he has to start facing more and more difficult challenges, because I do think the kid is improving with each fight. And I didn't expect him to get, how you pronounce his name? Ballard?
Demetrius Ballard.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to get him out that soon, that early.
That was quick.
So he still has power. And anybody that has power in boxing is my friend.
we didn't see enough of Munguia in this fight to see how he's doing. I think he had improved significantly in his last fight with Rosado. He stopped lunging. He used to lunge a lot, and I hate to see a fighter lunge. He started twisting his body a little bit better, so he wasn't as robotic. But we only saw a couple of rounds before this thing was over, and so there's really not a lot to report there. See how it goes, but maybe a step up in weight to the next weight class is the right thing for Munguia if he's having that kind of issue. There was definite weight issues and weight cutting issues. Apparently, he didn't pass out. He was pretty drained at the weigh-in. He started drinking water immediately, sat down, and then had to lie down. That's a bad sign. That's a really bad sign.
The question really isn't the weight with Munguia. The question with him isn't the weight. At this point, it isn't really the skill set. It's the competition. That's really the question and the issue with Munguia. I don't care what weight. If he moves up, move up. He needs to fight some better fighters, and he needs it now. Building up through that DAZN app like that is not doing him any favors. Nobody outside of us knows his name. Okay? He needs to move up in competition, and he needs to do it now. And he should be pushing his promoter. So whether that means moving up in weight, move up in weight. I'm okay with that. But you need the competition. That's the question with Munguia.
And Eddie Hearn's made some statements wondering basically why Munguia won't fight Demetrius Andrade. But there's more than just Andrade out there too. I agree, Rob. He definitely needs that big step up fight, and he needs it soon.
Guys, I have to make one other point though. I mean, you guys saw that stadium, or I mean, that venue they were in. It was packed.
It was a bullfighting ring.
The bullfighting ring was packed, like there was a bull down there. Okay, and I'm like, damn. I didn't realize that Munguia had that type of Mexican support on deck to that level. So I was kind of shocked. So there is lots of potential with this kid, and he's a handsome guy. There's lots of things that his promoters, as Rob was alluding to, that can be done in order to make him a bigger known household name in the United States and globally. And it's just not being done. Why? I don't know. I can't read into that, but I mean, there's many distractions over there in the Golden Boy camp, I guess. So, I mean, they got their hands full. They have Ryan Garcia over there. They really need to hone in and market these guys with this potential that they have. I mean, if you got the Mexican fans on as your base fan base and they're huge, you just build on that, and they are not taking advantage of that. Yes, good fights and competitive fights with well-known people would help, but it's also like the basics. I don't think the basics are being done with this kid.
Yeah, well, he's got a way to go. He's got a way to go. He's not Oscar Valdez. He's not Canelo. He's not Gallo Estrada. But he's certainly coming up. He had a good turnout in Tijuana at that particular venue. It's kind of a strange venue. It's kind of really hard to gauge how many people were there. I thought it was kind of light myself, but he's on that totem pole. He's kind of at the bottom in terms of popularity in Mexican fighters because there's so many more fighters that are. Miguel Berchelt's got a bigger name, and I think, and again Valdez and Estrada, and obviously Canelo, and there's a few other fighters in there. Obviously Zurdo. I shouldn't forget Zurdo Ramirez. Zurdo Ramirez is huge. So the idea is that he's developing a good following, and we're looking at Munguia being in these development stages, and I think Golden Boy does a really good job with that. He'll get his fights here in the United States. He's had those.
I mean, I don't even think Zorro is getting the accolades or the I don't think he's getting the notable fights either.
No, his last fight was Sullivan Barrera and took him out early.
And Golden Boy did him no favors over there either. But Shakur, it's Tijuana. As long as there's cervezas in a fight, they're gonna show up. Okay, so that's that.
Stereotype.
we got.
Oh, Rob, you forgot the tequila.
I thought that's what he was gonna say.
And the tacos.
Well, we do have some fights this weekend. We got Josh Taylor defending his belts against Jack Catterall. That will be on ESPN Plus.
Undisputed.
And I don't really think we're going to make predictions for that. I see us all pretty much unanimously picking Josh Taylor.
I don't even know who his opponent is.
He's undefeated, but he's still to really have that step-up fight and to step up against a guy like Josh Taylor. I think it's just too little too soon for Jack.
It's a showcase for Josh Taylor. That's what it is.
It is, but...
it's a homecoming fight.
We also got Chris Colbert versus Hector Luis Garcia for their WBA Junior Lightweight Eliminator. Gary Antoine Russell taking on Victor Postol. That's an interesting fight. That's on Showtime.
Yeah.
So there is some good boxing on this weekend, both on Showtime and ESPN Plus. Definitely check those out. Rob, I think we're going to go ahead and switch over to your segment there, buddy, the rapid fire.
All right, guys. So I gave you an assignment tonight. But before we get into that, first, I do want to say I want to dedicate this segment tonight to my late Uncle Carl, who was a well-respected and beloved, avid boxing fan. Him and I talked and chatted all the time about all the fights he used to watch. And then I also want to dedicate this to my late mother, of course, who raised me to be the man that I am.
Yay!
Yeah. That being said, guys, we do have an assignment that I gave you, and I want to go into that right now. So the NBA did something interesting this weekend at All-Star Weekend. It's the 75th anniversary. So they unveiled their top 75 NBA players. So I want to do something similar, but we're not going to name off 75 names on the show tonight. Okay. But I asked, and I want to know your top 10 greatest fighters of all time list. So I'm kind of interested in hearing what we came up with. If you want, I can go first.
Go ahead, Rob.
All right. So I don't have this in any order, but I do want to explain my criteria of who I think is great. And as you all know me, it's the records for me, okay? It's guys who barely lost any fights, multi-division champions, multi-championships, That's pretty much the list for me. And I think we'll all agree to these, but this is my top 10. And it's not in any order. I didn't want to go in any order, but this is my top 10 list.
Oh, okay.
We have Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, Joe Louis, Roberto Duran, Rocky Marciano, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr.,
of course,
Bernard B. Hopkins,
okay,
Floyd Mayweather Jr., Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, and I had to do it. I had to give the last one a tie because I couldn't pick between these two fighters. But I have a tie with Marvelous Marvin Hagler and Tommy the Hitman Hearns.
Okay. I'm feeling that list. I mean,
it's a good list.
Yeah.
Who we got next, y'all? Who we got next?
I can go next. I mean, okay, so
it.
I had a lot of mine cross with yours in some spots. I had Sugar Ray Robinson. How we say it, no order, right? Jake LaMotta, Roberto Duran, Marvelous Hagler is on my list as well. Let's see, Pernell Whitaker, Ali, Henry Armstrong, and I got Floyd Mayweather, Joe Louis, and Chavez Sr. Does that 10?
I like that list, Shakur. I'm interested though in what criteria did you fit Pernell in there for? What did you put?
Well, I mean, I just like his overall. He's like Marvelous Hagler for me, where they just had like skills all around. Like Pernell is known for his defensive, maneuvers, but he also was able to be very offensive using his defense. So I think he's more like a real well-rounded boxer the way Hagler was. Like everything's on point. Anybody? I mean, agree, disagree?
Good list.
I like the list. Okay. All right.
Who next?
I meant to tell you guys too, if there's somebody that you see on the list that you wonder, like I just asked, go ahead and throw that at us.
Okay.
There's some ones that I would like to have on my list, but I don't consider them maybe like top 10. Like I love Gotti, but you can't put Gotti in like the top 10. You know what I'm saying? Like
I thought of that too, Lucas. I was like, damn.
I'm like, I really want to put him in there because it means so much to boxing and it means so much to me. But yeah, I got Sugar Ray Robinson. A big one for me that I figured had to be on this list was Henry Armstrong. Ali, Frazier, both Manny and Floyd, Tyson, Marciano, Roy Jones, and James Toney.
Dang.
Whoa.
James
Toney's interesting. That's interesting.
All right, I got it. You gonna ask him, James, or you gonna make me be the bad guy and ask him?
No, I'm wondering. What's up with James Toney?
What was the criteria?
For me, I just thought he had a higher ceiling than what he was allowed. I think he had the skills to be one of the best in his generation. Just didn't play out, that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Emilio has him on his list too, Lucas. So don't feel bad.
James Toney. I mean, as far as like the untangibles, he had all of it. He just couldn't always put it together like he needed to. But for everything skill-wise, speed-wise, power-wise, he was always there with anybody.
Well, I had to leave someone off of my list for similar reasons. That's kind of interesting. So my top of the top is Muhammad Ali, Mr. Muhammad Ali. And after that, there's really no order here. But second on this paper is Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. Okay. After that is, I didn't hear this name earlier. I'm surprised. Is Mr. Mike Tyson.
I had Tyson.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. And then after that, I got Pacquiao.
Yeah.
And then old school, Ray Robinson.
Yeah.
I got Canelo Alvarez in there. And then I got a guy who I really liked to, I saw him fight as a kid, and his ability to land punches was insane. Ruben Olivares, Hall of Famer. I can't say enough about the guy. He's still with us.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Ruben Olivares.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's on a lot of people's list, James.
Yeah. Oh my God. I could just cut this one real short. He didn't. His punching power was insane. Man,
I could have
he
sworn he
just got. No. He's with us.
Is he?
He's with us. Very much so.
Do you remember who he fought?
Very much so.
When you saw him, do you remember who he was fighting?
Well, sort of, yeah. Sort of. There's just so many good fights because I was in the proximity with him and his managers and all that, but insane guy. And then next is Juan Manuel Marquez because he took down the top dog Pacquiao. After that is Ray Leonard.
Yeah.
And then going back old school is Rocky Marciano.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Undefeated.
Wait.
I mean, there's reasons. Say it again.
You said you left off someone.
Oh, the one that I really wanted to put on this list was Ricardo Lopez, also undefeated. So Ricardo Lopez is known as Finito Lopez.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's still working the microphone and doing commentary, and very, very sharp. Always dapper in a tuxedo, and but the idea is that the polemics there was, to your point, Lucas, was that he fought at 108 and 112, so he didn't get a lot of attention.
Gotcha.
Got the Rob syndrome.
You got the James Toney.
That shouldn't be a criteria, though. Just because somebody didn't get attention doesn't mean that they weren't high level skilled and needing to be on that list.
Right, but I would call it the James Toney syndrome.
Right.
With respect to what you had about James Toney, so.
Right.
The only question I have on your list, James, is Canelo. Do you really put him there already?
You know what? That's a good question, and if it's not there, it will be, because he's working for his legacy, and he's working damn hard at it, and he's doing a good job.
Top 10, you saying?
Oh yeah.
So you got to knock out somebody that's old school in order to get him on that top 10, though.
Well, the idea is that he's going to fight Bivol, and he's going to fight Golovkin again, most likely, if that plays out. And when he beats those two, he's a GOAT. He's one of the GOATs.
All right, y'all. So
I didn't hear y'all mention Carlos Monzon. I thought one of y'all would mention that Argentine boxer.
I thought about Alexis Aguero.
Okay, yeah, that's another.
I thought about him too.
Yeah, but he got whooped by Pryor.
Yeah, but that was
Pryor.
That was a tough fight. So let me move on though to the next assignment I gave you guys. And of course, our listeners can always chime in, give us your list if you would like. But also in honor of the All-Star weekend that just passed, I asked you guys to give me who your current starting 5 roster would be for All-Star boxers. So right now, pretty much who your starting 5 would be in an All-Star type of situation for boxers.
So you're talking like current boxers, basically. You're not
of
talking
course
dream.
Current, okay. your 2022 All-Stars.
So we're supposed to have 9 of these, right?
No, it's 5.
5 starting.
Oh, okay. All right, I can do 5.
I could speak for all of us right now because he's currently the face of boxing. I think Canelo's pretty much going to be on everybody's all-star team at this point, so you can knock it down to 4.
No, he's
No,
not
he
on
won't
my
be
list.
on mine.
He's not on your All-Star team. You're telling me
Go
Canelo
ahead.
Alvarez, the star of boxing right now, is not one of your top 5 on your All-Star team?
No, this is not top 5. This is just who you would pick as your All-Star roster.
But the All-Star team is usually you're picking from the best. That's why I'm not understanding what you mean. Are you just saying like my favorite, my current favorite?
Right, he said he got
All-Star?
5 more best other than
So you got
Canelo.
5 more better than Canelo. You got to tell yours first
Just
this
read
time,
your
Rob.
list.
Yeah, you got to tell you.
So
My
roster is, my starting 5 would be Gervonta Tank Davis,
That's on my list.
Terrence Crawford, who actually to me should be on everybody's list, and that's my captain.
Oh my God, he's on my list. Are we gonna have the same list here in a minute?
Paul Charlo is on my roster.
Okay, he ain't on my list.
Shakur Stevenson.
Damn, he's on my list.
Who's going to lose to Oscar Valdez pretty soon?
You taking everybody from my list, Rob. What the hell's going on?
As my dark horse pick, I want Boots Enos.
Damn it!
Rounding out on my starting 5.
We got almost the exact same list but one person.
All right, Sakura, who is it? It'd be the easiest to just come to you next.
That is hilarious. Okay, because I had Boots in it. I had Shakur. I got Tank because I need my power. My dark horse was Boo Boo Andrade. And I had Bud Crawford, baby. That's the skills right there that pay the bills.
Kerr was on the same task. We understood the assignment, Lucas. We don't want no damn Canelo.
I got a little overlap there.
Okay.
I got Usyk. All right.
Oh.
Naoya Inoue.
Okay, the monster.
Terrence Crawford.
Okay.
Artur Beterbiev.
All right.
And last but not least, a guy named Saul Canelo Alvarez. Bam! Bam!
Look,
no argument. No arguments.
You just had me there. You just almost had me to that last name.
I gotta have Canelo on there too, as much as I hate to say it. I got Fury. You know, he'd be one of my captains. He'd be up there.
True.
I gotta have Usyk.
There you go.
I'd have Crawford.
Right.
I'd probably also have Boots Enos.
Okay. So who's the power in your group? You gotta have somebody that's got like that knockout one punch kind of power.
I mean, that's what the heavyweights are for, right? Fury usually isn't that way, but
I mean, he kind of break you down, and you know he gets kind of physical with you. But I'm talking about that Wilder type knockout power, that Tyson knockout power. Like your all-star team gotta have that.
I'm good with my players. I don't know.
Boots might have that though. You might have it because Boots. We don't know yet, but he could have it.
Just for fun, there isn't a right or wrong answer to this. All the names on these lists are outstanding fighters, the cream of the crop out there right now. Let's hope that we see them all this year in multiple fights, not just one, and possibly fighting the best out there. I'm gonna wrap it up so we don't go too late tonight. There is a few things that I'll leave you with. Really, one thing in particular that I'm looking at right now that's just breaking out that I'll mention. But guys, John Real Casimiro, as you know, the guy who had issues with fighting Donaire because he refused to take the test, is now facing sexual abuse complaints in the Philippines.
Oh, come on, man.
It's pretty serious. He's been indicted on some pretty heavy charges there, and he's in the United States now. So we'll see how that plays out.
Damn, would they what do they call it? You
Extradite.
think they'll send them back?
Extradite.
Extradite, that's the word. Yes. You think
not expedite.
I know.
That's fast shipping.
You knew what I was saying, though. Don't take me there. I mean, but you think there's a possibility that they would?
That they would what, Shakur?
The charges are pretty serious.
Yeah, I'm not going into detail on that.
Well, I can go into a little bit of detail, but I don't know a lot about John Riel Casimero, and I think it was statutory rape and there's a minor involved.
That's why I don't know.
That's what I heard. I'm not sure. So that's a disclaimer for the show and for the well-being of our website,
allegedly,
of our program here.
Yes.
So that's what they allege, and we don't want to go too far into this because it's really serious legal matter.
Yeah.
Of course, but he's one of the top fighters from the Philippines in his weight division, world champion. So the young man who just was recently exonerated, who was Raleigh. Due to fight.
Raleigh Romero.
Yeah, he was due to fight. Who was he?
He was supposed to take on
Tank. Yeah, that fell through, and that was a big payday that he missed.
Yes, and then they found out the allegations. The police found that the allegations had no merit.
And he played his cards well, and he answered the charges, and had his day in court, or whatever it was. But apparently, that those charges were dropped. Maybe, let's say.
Yeah.
And so he's back. Hopefully for John Riel, this is one of those issues. Yeah. And otherwise, they're very serious. And you know what? For all the young boxers that are watching, and I know you're watching, you got to be respectful at all times of other people. If not, it can get you in big trouble. So you got to think about your actions. And hopefully this thing with John Riel Casimero plays out. Everything's cool. He's a good fighter. He's a good fighter. He's one of the top dogs in his division. So I hope and pray that everything comes out well for him.
He just lost some points over the fighting itself. He lost some points when he did not want to do the VADA testing that Donaire wanted to do.
Yeah, so, that was a bunch of issues there.
That was kind of like, damn,
Yeah.
But this here is next level. So I feel like I always got to protect all my men, and it's like, let's see, let's wait for the evidence. Let's, you're innocent till proven guilty. And I feel very strongly that women's voices should be heard on these issues. But I do think that we do have to recognize that there are some few out there that are out to destroy men that don't want them or don't treat them the way they want to be treated too. So I feel like it can go both ways. So everybody should just keep an open mind and, like you said, pray that he didn't really do those things he's being accused of.
Yeah, because I'd definitely like him to agree to the VADA testing and see that fight with Donaire. Rob, do you want to read off that comment? We got a top 10 comment.
Yeah, Mr. Steven Alexander sent us in his top 10 list. Kind of looks like mine, actually, with maybe a name. Looks like one name different.
He got one that was I don't think anybody said.
But he has Jack Johnson, Ali, Marciano, Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard, Chavez Sr., Hagler, Mayweather, Pacquiao, and B-Hop Bernard Hopkins.
It's a good list.
Yeah, you can't agree with it.
Exactly.
There's one thing on these lists that you guys read off. Someone had Joe Louis. And I never saw him fight, so I couldn't really, put him on my list. Ray Robinson, I've only seen footage.
But that's what you do. You got to go back and look at some of the footage and see some of the maneuvers and what they were known for.
Yeah, with some of these guys, I've just not seen that footage. And there was a website that I was on for a short period of time recently, and it was about uh, the boxing history or whatever it's called. And it was kind of an English-based thing, and all they do is talk about these old fights, and I'm like, this ain't for me, man. Disconnect, unfollow. Hey, they got their club, they got their history, they got their thing down.
Yeah, but if they mention the history, then
it was a little deep
on YouTube, James.
Yeah,
like if they mention a specific fight, I'll go and look it up on YouTube if I haven't seen it, and you can see the whole fights now with this technology.
A little deep for me, but they got their interest, and good for them. But I did want to mention that the undercard for the Munguia fight, Diego Torres and Jonathan Escobedo. I urge you to go back and watch that fight because it's a matter of, pardon the French, balls. Someone had a bad cut here and said, "F it, I ain't leaving. I ain't leaving without a victory. I'm going for the victory," and stayed in the fight and won some late rounds. And if there's anything that I love to watch is a guy with I don't want to say with an injury, but having to overcome having to overcome something, and maybe you don't get the victory, but you're what makes boxing happen. You're the essence of boxing. And nobody can take anything from you. You walked away with a victory tonight. You stayed in the ring. You were hurt. You were probably behind 8-4. To that trajectory, but you didn't walk away from this one. You stayed in it. And I'll go back another week and say that cowboy Ryan Carl, I know you're watching. Yeah. Hats off to you, because before the mofo doctor got up to the canvas, to the apron, you shouted at him, "I can see perfectly well. I'm good." Before he was on the apron. Before he came up on the apron, he told the doctor, "I'm good." And he had a rough night. But I give him all the praise in the world, because he didn't want to go. He wanted to fight. And that's what we need in this sport.
Yeah, it's that mentality. It's when you really see who's got that championship heart and courage. When
Say what, Robert?
They under the gun to pull out something, or at least show us that they really got that type of heart to not quit.
That's where boxing really shines. Yeah.
What weight class were they in, James?
I want to say 54 or 47. Cowboy Ryan Carl. He's a Midwest guy. Where's a cowboy hat? Oh, the one that 140. 140. Diego Torres. Yeah, Diego Torres and Jonathan Escobedo. And I don't remember who Ryan Carl was fighting, but he had a serious cut from a serious headbutt. And before the ring doctor made it up on the apron, he shouted to him, "I'm good." So there's no way they can stop him.
Wow.
And you know what?
That's deep.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because, we talk about guys who are a little bit over the hill and still trying to make it happen and collecting checks. These guys are working their way to that level, to that top level, and nothing gets in the way.
Yeah. I gotta agree with you, James. Especially lately in boxing, it seems like we more get the people that are looking for a way out of a fight, not a way into the fight. So, that is the heart and soul of boxing. This is what makes boxing boxing. You can't do that in MMA. You can only see that in a boxing ring. Like I said, once you get knocked down, you're not allowed to show heart in MMA. You pretty much get pounded out, and then you're done.
Yeah.
Boxing, you get your 8 count. You're able to make it to your feet and return. Yeah, you're able to fight on. But that's the love of boxing. But yeah, it's something we've been missing, and I'm hoping we get it back.
Rob, I just had one question for you about your uncle. I was wondering if you think he would have the same list you have.
That's a very good question, and I'd love to see his list because he's seen them all fight.
Right.
Yeah, he's seen them all fight. Unfortunately, yeah, that would have been something.
Well, this has been a great episode of Tough Talk Tuesday, because it is the 2. Fit up perfectly for today. And I do want to appreciate you all coming on the show. And Rob, I want to dedicate this whole episode of Tough Talk to your family. You guys always been great to me. I love you, Robbie, like a brother. Thank you guys all for coming on the show. Don't forget to check us out, heavybagboxing.com. And always on Tuesdays, right here on Tough Talk and all your social media at Heavy Bag Boxing, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific.